will take it.
Please
from here.
help us.
Thank you all for having us. Christine and I both, she's gonna help. I've been lucky enough to work with a couple of you. I have to look at my notes. About 4 years ago, we did, some strategic planning for you on the operating side mostly. And then I think a couple years ago, David Blunt, our legislative liaison from the office, helped updated that. And I'm really happy and appreciate Steve and Candy for inviting us up to work on the capital side of it today. Mr. Cooch, he put it so nicely. I mean, he opened the door for my understanding of what we're going to do. He talked about the money side and helping you to understand what you can afford to do in the future. We just want to help you to begin to prioritize what it is that you'd like to do. Believe me, this is not going to be a scientific exercise. It is by consensus, just to begin to group and get some ideas from you for the capital items. And the, I'll even kind of call it more of the big picture items. I took a look at the list that you were given from your departments, and I would say a number of those things are, though accounting wise are capital, it may not be something that you really want to be looking at to capitalize through bonding. Buying the Office 365 software application. That's something you're probably going to look at from an operating expense. So as you're thinking, I just want you to be thinking more in the bigger picture kind of frame for your capital improvements. The other thing I want to do too is as you're thinking about this, and anytime I'm doing an exercise like this, and just to give you a little bit of my background, I'm actually in my background's in city management. I'm not a planner. I'm more of a dollars and cents kind of person. So I like to bring out too things I'd like for you to be thinking about as you throw out what your priorities are. And of 4 things, Mr. Cooch handled one is, how are you going to pay for it? We may all want that new building, but how are you going to pay for it? Well, I think he's covered that very, very well. The other thing I always want you to consider is when you start to look at capital improvements, the staff time and the ability to pursue whatever it is that you're looking at or thinking of. It takes a lot of time to put a major capital program together. So one of your departments, your administration, they're going to have to spend time and effort to do that. The other one is just always remembering what it takes to maintain whatever you build. I had a city council member, Christine, I told her this story coming up. He was actually a bar owner in Clemson, South Carolina, and was a city council member and later became our mayor. We could never talk about capital improvements that he didn't make us go ahead and pencil out. Okay, when it's built, what's it going to take to maintain over the years? Because I don't want to build a tennis court to have it look shabby the next year. He was adamant about it. Believe me, it sunk in with me. So always be thinking that a lot of times capital improvements do take that additional operating cost. A lot of times forever. So just those are important things. What we're going to try to do is today is just the old tried and true. I'll give each of you some dots in a minute. The colors don't mean anything. I want to list what's the most important capital items that you have in your mind that Nelson County needs for its citizens. Again, looking down the list that you had in your packet, you may have me push back a little bit. I'm not trying to steer you in any direction. This is for you all. If it's something not on the list, we're going to put it down. But if it is something that I think, that may be more of an operating cost, even though it's technically capital, I may push back a little bit and say, if you're talking in not meaning anything, I'm not sure who put the list together, but if you're talking about buying a Microsoft 365 subscription for $12,000, that's probably going to be an ongoing operating expense and less of a capital expense. Now, if you have to buy a computer system, that's completely different. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand these out while I'm kind of, oops, somebody already lost it. Yeah, if you would just give, there should be 5 6s, 5 5s. Yeah.
Oh, we're doing stickers?
Just give one to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Put those there, you just have to fix those, thank you. You've already gotten your departments. One of the things we sometimes do is just try to break it down for people into saying, well, let's do recreation or let's do public works or something like that. You already have a lot of your potential items broken down by department, but just in a round robin fashion, no order or anything, if you'll tell me what your priority project would be, and just a brief, very brief description of why you think that's important. And I will let anybody who wants to speak first go. And of course, as we do this, then we'll get the sheets up on the wall and we'll give you a chance to vote and tell you kind of how you can vote. So, but anybody who wants to write something down, just let us know.
Any questions, capital improvements? Capital improvements?
Yeah, capital improvements. We're not trying to address operating at all.
Throw the rec facility on there.
Wherever y'all.
Recreation facility and Livingston revitalization.
One at a time. One at a time. I knew you were going to
I picked Livingston then.
You were going to be the troublemaker.
Do Livingston for me.
Oh, you got it? Okay. One at a time. It does not have to be on that sheet. I love to tell the other story. A different mayor I had in Clemson. Every single year we did this, his number one name was a downtown carousel. We never did it. He never got more than one vote, but every year he said he wanted that carousel. So.
But these are people I'm gonna have to convince.
What did you say?
I think there needs to be a swimming facility,
Okay.
summer swimming facility.
Okay. And you were a little bit specific. You said a summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you care whether it was indoor, outdoor?
Well, I care about having it.
Okay.
And the reason and to have it, I would want it to be affordable.
Sure.
And I also think there's benefits to having a summer facility, indoor facility. I mean, it would be magnificent to have a wonderful indoor facility, a basketball court and all that thing. But I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think, I think a swimming facility would also be wonderful in terms of community. The strength of Nelson County is, as you know, is community, as we all know. And everybody wants a swimming facility.
Well, don't discount it. Say it, because I'll give you some backup here. In 2016, that was a mentioned item. So you aren't standing there alone on that item.
We all want this thing.
Yeah, okay. We've got Livingston revitalization and a swimming facility.
I think having the Department of Health and Department of Social Services building and land combined, I think is an excellent idea and a priority.
And that's a building that would combine
DSS
all of those services?
In this case,
temporary structures right now.
Oh, man.
right,
Okay.
and, well,
They've been temporary for almost permanent.
yeah, yeah,
Down there beside.
they either,
Aren't they both?
the Department of Health has to,
That's right, one's, yeah.
yeah, the DSS is busting at the seams and Department of Health has to find a home.
Okay. Now, are both of those and I'll try to keep my biases out of here, but I can't help it. I always think about how we can revitalize Livingston as well at the same time. Are both of those in the Livingston area?
No,
No? Just one, okay.
oh, yes, so it's in a temporary building down here at the park store.
Okay. Okay. Just, sometimes I'm always thinking that not all economic development has to be private. You can move a governmental structure and operations into a Livingston area, and as you bring employees in, they're spending money and stuff, so. Okay, we've got 3.
You want to go? You want me to
Go ahead.
go? For me, it would be development of a business park. We have infrastructure in place. Now we need to bring in some
Okay.
tax revenue, some tax base. So I think of a business park.
All right. You can either keep going around or let Mr. Harvey.
Yeah, go ahead, don't wait on.
All
Okay,
right, I'm ready.
okay.
Ag facility.
Okay, go on. Jesse.
You only get one.
Just to be clear, we're like the Musketeers up here, one for all and all for one. Nobody's name is gonna be put by it, so.
I at least know there'll be 2 stickers on that one.
The sports field complex is pretty
Yeah.
important.
Okay, a sports field complex. The other thing I will ask you to do is we're writing these down, kind of follow those. If you think that there may be a joint effort where you could put a sports field complex and a swimming facility, I mean, that's also something you could consider.
We only plan on building one swimming facility.
Um,
At 25 million, that,
So, question, are we not including anything that would fall under the school division? Do we not throw that out here?
I'll leave that to Mr. Parker.
You can, but what we understood was, these are the board's priorities, but the schools, something for them is your priority, yeah, throw it in.
Okay.
Again, always trying to think efficiency too. I love to find things that could be combined too. I mean, sometimes you can build a sports facility that can be shared.
Or an ag complex?
Yeah, any number of things.
If I may, not to say we're competing, but you're gonna see their priorities at some point in the near future, so maybe you need to have just your priorities.
I got you.
so they'll be competing against a lot of stuff.
I'd like to see us get rid of some porta potties in some of these facilities that we have. So I see on here that there's a restroom facility at the trail. I mean, that's a small item, but to me, it's kind of a coffee stain. You know, you pull up to this nice facility and you got a porta potty. So I think that's something.
Actually, now several porta potties.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's something that I know it hits several different geographic points on the map, but overall, I would like to see us have some permanent facilities.
And that's mostly like in the park setting.
Yeah, yes.
Trails.
Well, we own the land on all these things.
You're actually working.
No, wait, just put it over it.
What's in the old train station? Is Dodge still on the other building?
We have lots of sheets up here, so don't be bashful.
Um,
I've already seen how much money y'all have. We can-
Oh, yeah.
I at the planning commission meeting this last week, Dylan Bishop presented the possibilities for the McGinnis building, and everybody loves the location, but it's in a floodplain, so only so much can be done there. The location is good, maybe even excellent, but the fact it is where it is and has the age it does, it needs some help.
And the McGinnis building, what is that? I'm
It's the
sorry.
planning.
Planning, zoning.
Oh, okay,
sections.
okay.
That's a laundromat.
It can't be,
Yeah.
it can't be made into anything else, or is that what that?
The property is located in the floodway, and we've had two engineering firms look at that and try to see if we could get it out of the floodway, and they both said you can't get it out. So you can't construct anything in the floodway.
But we can keep the building.
Yeah.
It's there.
Keep what's there.
Well, you saw of the Chuck Miller's, that long list.
Right.
There's an item there that he has indicated that the building needs some work.
Yeah.
Do we own that building now, or?
Yes.
Yes.
And I've never seen it flood.
No, I understand.
I've never seen flood water on that part of the property where they,
Right.
I mean, that, not even in 69.
Yeah, I understand.
So all that's in the floodplain, all that, like where the cafe is, the Livingston Cafe?
The flood map showed it coming out to, I think, just about the road there, maybe over to the middle of the road. And it's not the floodplain, it's the floodway, which is worse than the floodplain.
Okay.
Quick moving water. Like I said, I don't know if anybody can tell you that they've seen water
I know.
on the property.
Not just from you, but from others.
Because the laundromat is still standing. The little store there is never flooded.
I understand.
I'm just gonna try to give some prodders too from previous discussions. A number of votes were given several years ago to the healthcare building right down the street. Is that kind of taking care of itself?
Yeah, it was sold.
Oh, there you go.
Region 10.
There you go.
A bunch of dumbass.
See, that's the problem, we know what we need, how we're going to do it, that's what the disagreement seems to be.
But we're not there yet.
We're not disagreeing yet.
Yeah.
No,
You're disagreeing over it?
I'm just saying, yeah, okay.
The Blue Ridge Tunnel's taken care of now?
Yes.
Just needs a bathroom.
Hey, you could put broadband up there, but then you'd have to put an X through it for us.
Okay.
Broadband's going up there.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, I meant broadband as in
In
an X
general.
that we completed.
Something that we
No.
take care of.
Something that always usually makes this list.
Well, I know that, but
That's
that's
right there. It's been here 2 years in a row.
2 years we'll be finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss the health department and Department of Social Services in the two different scenarios here?
That's up there. That's one.
Well, I know that, but they also show it down here with other office building in Hellacious building.
Yeah.
I'd much rather see a much smaller building built and put those two departments in there because you can do it much quicker. It's probably gonna be cost effective to do that. You've got the land across the road, and it's a project that can be reached pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you add a bunch of,
When you make it a $20 million project.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Probably 18 to 2 months to 2 years for the larger project.
Just in planning.
But to get to start to finish.
Yeah.
well, here it is, 5 years later, and we're still sitting here playing.
How can I'm not as familiar with it.
it would be instead of just the Department of Health and Social Services together, it would be then combining them with more of
No.
the county office.
No,
No,
we don't want to combine.
Right,
He's
right,
saying
that's what we're
keep it-
talking about, the
keep it
difference.
separate,
between-
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
a separate building just for DSS and Department
yeah,
of Health.
because they function together.
Together, yeah,
And that's-
Combined, just to be clear, a combined building.
But we don't really pay for the health building, do we?
Yes.
Yeah,
Kind of.
Well,
We pay for it and then they pay us rent.
It's shared about 40% county, 60% state.
State.
That's gonna change too, because the General Assembly is considering legislation to increase our share,
Yeah.
among others.
That means we have to work fast.
well, let's,
And that would actually, I mean, where the difference there would be just on the revenue side, not the expense side, where you would pay the bill that you would just get a revenue stream back in.
That's sort of the beauty of those two together, because we would get the health department, the state share of the money to help pay the debt and contingency operations. DSS may be able to do the same thing, particularly with operations.
let's go back to the big elephant in the room. The Millennium Group is trying to do something at the old middle school. So we have stated that we don't want to be in competition with them. And what I gather, they're about to spend about $10,000 in studies and stuff, trying to, the health department wanted a price from them. So that,
That's what we have to talk about. We, see,
Well-
that's an issue at which you're right, it's like, we haven't talked about it. We know we haven't talked about it, and we haven't,
well, before we can go anywhere, we've got to talk about it.
yeah.
Because, I mean, you're within 2 miles of Amherst County. You've got an old building that was built in what, the 60s? So,
Well, I think if I may, if the board wants that to be a priority, and out on the limb, it's probable that the health department and Department of General Services, if we can show them a plan quickly, are gonna want to do it with the county rather than.
but
down there.
see, we don't want to get into a bidding war with them type thing that,
Well, what's gonna happen is DGS will accept the best proposal,
well, not only, well, no, it comes down
plus dollars and cents.
it comes down to the director. She is the final say. Now, my thing is, if she doesn't want to go out there, then she needs to speak up and stop this, I'd hate to see them spend $10,000 for nothing. But that's what's got to be addressed.
Yeah.
Before even what is it, Department of Services or whatever?
Department of General Services.
But before they do that, it's like they're going through step 3 when you got to get the first hurdle jumped first. If she's not going to be happy down there, then why go through the process?
Well, I think the issue is, or the concern is, that right now, the only entity proposing to potentially construct an office space for them is the Heritage Center. Because, as you know, they're gonna have to get out of the medical center December of this year. So, the only show in town right now is down the road. But I do think if the board makes that a top priority and we communicate that to the state, they're probably gonna say, we wanna work with the county.
Right.
Well, the
And
other,
I would try to say too, when you're prioritizing these items, these needs, these wishes, you aren't necessarily just prioritizing them to go spend your bond indebtedness.
Right.
It could be
Yeah.
just by prioritizing it, that tells staff, this is something you need to fix.
Yeah.
Now, it may be through a private developer, maybe there's a grant that can pay for bathrooms, you know.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean this is just to spend your bond capacity.
But we know this health department's gotta be built, and we know we've been fought around with for 5 years now.
Yeah, I mean, see, Tommy's right, I mean, you're right that we need to deal with it, we need to look at it.
Yes.
And there are positive aspects of putting the health department in that building. That building, you know, they have computer services for kids, they, the food pantry is set up there. There's opportunity, you know, for more, for them to do more if they are able to have the health department there. I mean, there are positive aspects of it. It would not, I mean, it's not in the middle of the county, but it does offer things to the county that are positive. And in terms of community, what I keep talking about, community, you know, that could be help them to make that more of a community center,
So,
to a part of the county that doesn't necessarily get a lot.
Yeah, but the central question on that, Mr. Bart, is what's better, to help them help themselves, or is it in the best interest of the county, the citizens, to have a facility that's centrally located?
Those are judgments that need to be considered. I mean, I don't deny that, go ahead.
Yeah, the health department needs something ASAP, and we all know that.
But
The Heritage Center could provide something quickly for the health department on a lease that might be 3 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years,
It'll be 5.
5 years. That could give us more time on that debt level to be able to project, to build something a little bit farther down the line. It might serve both DSS and the health department. And one of the benefits to that, as Mr. Barton alluded to, is that to give the Heritage Center an opportunity to get their feet under them and to get something established there that brings people there, that increases services in the short term, and have something in the future that we can project towards to do something right instead of hastily.
well, it sounds like you're gonna
To
do
get the
twice.
health, to get, you know, DSS and the health department located somewhere else together, and perhaps something else by that time. We'd be in a better debt scenario to be able to do that, and might be able to incorporate other things into it.
I think, here's the thing, and I understand, I had a great chance to go tour that facility recently this past week with some of the members there. And I think it's a great facility. I also think the health department has its job and where it needs to be, so it serves its people equitably. I believe we can support the health department centrally located and also support the community center. I don't think it necessarily has to utilize this government entity to have it sustain. I'm all about community centers thriving. I think that's critical, and I think we can do both. I think we can make sure the health department gets in the center of the county, and that we can, hey, let's work with that community center and make sure something great can happen there. And whatever that is, working with BHCD, working with Go Virginia, and finding some money and make it happen, and make it have something that's, you know, great for that community.
And, you know, those decisions are certainly not mine, but I just want to note to the board, based on what you just said, Mr. Reed. So there's a difference of opinion, as far as I understand, between the capital costs that the Heritage Center has seen. I mean, I don't know, but this is what I've been told, that they're thinking the range of the capital cost to construct out an area for the health department is about $600,000 or so. The architect who looks for the county says that cost is closer to 1.3 million. But the concern of the board thinking that in 5 years, we can build a new health department and DSS building, and that'll be good, is that if they incur that capital cost, they're gonna be reliant on the monies from the county and the health department to pay that debt off. I don't think they have the money just to throw out $600 to $1.3 million.
Yeah.
In 5 years, they won't get paid their debt back. You have to think about that.
Can I ask a question? I mean, and I feel like we're kind of jumping beyond the brainstorming phase and we're getting into the planning phase, maybe. Aren't we kind of doing that?
Thank
Can we
you.
can we kind of get back to
Thank
more
you.
brainstorming?
Because
Because we have an order,
if this is your priority,
then we can have
this
this discussion.
discussion will take
happen
place
later.
at another time, because,
You gotta-
I'm not specific, but the possibilities are endless for you to consider.
You've got an issue, it's the biggest thing going right now, there's got to be something done and done right away.
And we can talk about that first as soon as we finish brainstorming.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would think we need to add is, it really can be two different things, so you all decide how you want to do it, but park development and park improvements. Development, like we've got some locations that need to be made into better parks. And I'm all about, we have to find ways to attract business and we have to attract residents.
Right.
And the business park is going to attract some businesses, and increasing infrastructure in parks and adding getting rid of porta potties and adding bathrooms. Developing these parks is going to bring families to the area. And then the second part of that is improving parks that we have. Like I see on here, Parks and Rec says adding playground equipment to somewhere, fixing the basketball courts. So fixing facilities that we have and improving them. So those, I think, would be two separate things. And then while I'm on a roll, and piggybacking on that conversation, personally, I think instead of just that one conversation you all were talking about, maybe making community centers and helping community centers be, like we could help Heritage Center and we could help Fleetwood Community Center, and that could be a separate item that we do to, again, encourage community and the residents, but it not necessarily have to be Department of Social Services going into the Heritage Center, but we could provide some support to help the Heritage Center and Fleetwood, both, which happen to be in my district, help both of them thrive and be more attractive facilities for the members of the community. So I think that's.
Do you want to do that, or how many of us are willing to commit to that?
Well, we'll find out when you put your stickers up. That's what we do next, is you put your stickers up, picking your priorities.
That's improvements,
Community center.
Well,
Yeah, I guess.
The one thing the Heritage Center's got going for it is the basketball court. That is a recreation that we badly need.
And truly, they could probably use some money in improving the existing computer center, but it could probably use some improvement.
Oh, it definitely does.
the whole
It
Just
definitely
some
does.
ideas.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
but
does.
improving.
The
community center.
basketball court is the critical.
The gym, the indoor.
Yes.
You're talking about the gym, not the outdoor basketball court,
I'm
the
talking
gym.
about the indoor.
Exactly, the gymnasium. Just ideas of ways we could improve the community center.
I mean, if you wait, I'll go back to the idea of the swimming hole that I want. You know, we used to have Van Ripers and Lake Nelson, people swam there. And I remember people can swim anywhere they want, they can swim in the river, well, it's dangerous. And it's swimming, almost every community in this part of Virginia and all over the country has a community swimming area. And it's a wonderful thing for so many reasons. You know, the people go to school in the summer, and then the kids can get back together in the summer. It's a place for young married people to go with little children. It's a place for retired people to go with their grandchildren. It becomes a part of the fabric of the community. And I've seen it be a wonderful thing and a wonderful place. I know you all favor that, you all want it.
It's
already
up there. It's up there.
But the problem is we always put it off to some
I
sort of
think-
rec
yeah.
center,
I-
an indoor rec center
I
with
think
with
that'll be the
enormous.
next
We're
conversation.
gonna, you can argue all you want
Yeah.
after we put the
After you put your
stickers up.
sticker up,
Yeah.
that's
I do-
that's when the argument comes.
But
And you can,
your
then you can
additional
start.
discussion was good because I heard two different things too. I heard one thing originally that was more of a formal swimming pool, indoor, outdoor kind of facility. But then I just heard a more of an outdoor park with a swimming area, like, you know, a man-made type of lake.
Pool, but yeah.
But, okay, so we're talking about a swimming pool facility.
If this indoor facility we talked about is much more than just a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Right,
It
right,
was a track, it was,
It's a whole lot of things.
yeah,
okay, yeah,
that's why it's a $25 million
yeah,
project.
okay,
We have one plan that does all of that at fixed cost.
yeah.
And I imagine it's doubled since
And
then.
we haven't done it, and we haven't done it.
Well,
It hasn't been done.
and what are we trying to do today, Skip?
Skip,
Well, we're,
We're trying to do it.
hopefully we'll get something.
did
you know,
you see
with-
that other chart
Not
that
if we
Roland
keep
put
getting
up
off
here?
track, we're not.
That there are certain times when we can afford to do some things.
Right.
And we almost in one of those windows right now where it's time we could do a big debt service to do something.
And I do think kind of the conversation I started and when you're prioritizing, I would ask you to think about that too. A lot of times, you know, your dollar amount's gonna be finite, so you want that to be spent on one big one or a lot of little things. Now that comes to you when you start putting your dots up. So any other ideas? I still have one. As kind of an outsider looking in, you're talking about doing things to attract people, and I do think the quality of life is so important to do that. But I'll tell you, I mean, and I mean, I live in Charlottesville, but I come here a lot. What you have done with internet is unprecedented. It, in my view, is going to be one of the biggest attractions you're going to have that's going to reverse, because your population trend has been very level, well, yeah, level to dropping, and those that are staying are old like me. I mean, you know, your population age is increasing. I believe you're going to see that switch.
Personally, I don't want to see it.
Well,
Because then we become an Albemarle County or Charlottesville that nobody wants to be here then.
well, I don't know that you'll see the demand that Albemarle has had over the number of years. But by having high-speed internet, you've got something no other area around us has. And with the pandemic, people are, you know, yeah, both people aren't gonna stay home and work from home. But you're gonna see more and more where one of a couple is gonna wanna work from home while the other one drives to either Charlottesville, Livingston area, or Amherst to a job. That internet is going to put you in a very, whether it's enviable or an unenviable position, people are gonna wanna move here. And my understanding from some of the real estate agents that we talk to, it's already happening. They're getting calls all the time about Nelson County because of, they're seeing that you're gonna have a 100% internet connection in just a few years. So just as you're thinking of your capital
We'll be
items,
the first in the state to have it too.
any other, this is gonna be a easy exercise if we stay this short.
All right, how many more do you want?
You got more than
It's
that.
important.
You can afford
So, I don't know, just expect, the Livingston revitalization, when I say that, I'm just saying sidewalks. That's
The
all, I
only
just wanna make sure
problem-
that was emphasized.
The only problem with the Livingston revitalization thing, there's two landowners that own all of this stuff.
Well, I know, we can argue about that after we're done with the stickers. We're talking sidewalks. Right, Skip?
They're expensive.
They are. They are.
You're gonna work with Chip or maybe Christine's group on, grant applications.
Right, exactly.
It may take a while, but I'll give a big plug. Standardsville.
Yep.
They have gotten CDBG grants, they've gotten Department of Transportation grants, and they've been building their sidewalk network for 12 years. But they're getting there. It's been slow moving, but they are getting there, and it's all paid for. I mean, they haven't issued any bonding for it. But they had a plan in place that they initiated and then kept working.
I mean, Gordonsville. When was the last
Yeah.
time you were in
Oh, yeah.
Gordonsville? I mean, you just want to go there and walk with a cup of coffee and just walk down the street. And
Right.
it's just such a cute look.
And businesses are locating right and left now.
Yep.
Sturt Nature Park is an area that the county owns that has some really incredible, unparalleled.
What's the name of it?
So
again?
that's just to say, when I said park development, that start was what I was referring to,
Okay.
was that. So that,
Okay,
yes, that one.
okay,
STURT.
right.
But
Yeah.
that's what I had in mind.
Right, I want to get the full name Sturt Nature Park there because it has certain characteristics that lend itself to education, research, and connection with schools. Some of the more aggressively developed proposals that might come up for it might make it difficult to balance both of those things. But I wanted to get it in there just because a very small investment there could go a long way to making it accessible. And,
It also has a lot of ticks and mosquitoes.
it does, it does.
With strains of malaria I've never seen. I think that's where I got my Rocky Mountain spotted fever. I'm pretty sure. The one trip Skip took me there. And it's, the swamp
Who's
is
the
so
amount of
trees.
timber we sold over there, Steve?
It was in 70,000.
How much?
70,000.
70,000, okay. And we were expecting to get
We still have it.
10 or something?
I'm sorry.
We were expecting to get about 10 or
Yeah,
something.
10 or 12 or so. Yeah, it kept coming in.
Okay. We'll put as many as you want, or we can stop anytime you want to.
I think this is,
We're worried about the most important.
I think this is good for me.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put your
Are
sticker?
you missing anything from y'all's perspective?
Put one on yours, you put one on mine.
Wow. Man, usually we run out of paper. What we'd ask.
You normally don't do this on a Friday afternoon.
Exactly. What, since we only have one, two, three,
How much time?
four,
Oh, we have an hour.
7, 8, 9,
What else we got to talk? Oh, we haven't even started arguing yet. Can you set
Yeah.
Skip's time to 30 minutes?
Since it's so few, we're gonna go ahead and just use the stickers you have. And what you can do is you can put as many as 2 stickers up for any one. Matter of fact, if you choose, you can put 2 stickers on 2 of them.
Do we have a separate thing for the social welfare department?
Yeah, VDH and DSS combined.
But that's combined.
Well, if you put it there, then we can argue about the details. on it.
Okay?
You can put 2 of them.
Okay, so once again, you can put up to 2 on 2 of them, and then just 1 dot for the rest. We trust you. We
And
trust
use
you.
all of them.
You put 'em- Yes, use them all, please.
Well, I got
And
6.
then when we look, we'll see how close it is.
I know what I can find.
Okay.
Yeah, and and if we need to, we can go through kind of the exercise again of
right.
putting dots, but I don't think
Let's
we'll
do it.
need to. We can just talk it through from that point. So you're welcome to. Okay.
All right, we're going this way.
No,
All right, hold on, Skip.
that'll be.
Yeah, I can see that. I could just want to see my $2,000 laptop fly.
It was $2,000.
You better be looking at your Gladstone recycling center. You never do anything with Gladstone.
That's not true. Gladstone is the one place I'm in contact with.
No, this would be like football field, on Cove Creek, this.
Building or something.
You want me to be on the council?
I'm gonna say that this has to be short because we're so.
Yeah. Well, you'll have what you have.
I tried.
So when you start work,
15,
15,
yeah.
maybe vacation before.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah. We immediately say, I've already, I was at a school board
Yeah.
meeting with them last night for the. Golly, fun.
You got your work cut out.
Yeah, yeah.
What
They have really, the city is, they rely so heavily on the restaurant. Those assets. They're expecting to be down about $8 million.
You're so confrontational.
Me.
I'm being quiet, trying to get you focused, man.
I'm impatient.
That's right. Impatient and confrontational. I can't hear you. Yeah, we did. They're not fast, they're extreme, I think, absolutely, I think so. I wish we had things like this for a meeting on Tuesday. We need one like this for that meeting. That's what we really truly need, not just a free-for-all.
No, not a free one.
That's what I think.
I think that's gonna be free for
I know it is. Just
I was on the Zillow every single day looking at Nelson County.
experience.
Well, you're more experienced.
Okay, everybody's done there?
I'm just old.
Old?
Yeah. Well, there we go. I like experience, but I'm old. I have wisdom.
I lost my wisdom too. Did you keep yours?
Oh, I had two.
Do y'all know Greg, Karen Urias?
I just
Karen
got
and Greg.
Also, mine was a terrible
He's on
experience.
damn ventilator.
10 out of 10, don't you guys? I think that 2 is supposed to be 7. Just kidding. Just kidding. That joke.
So from a prioritization standpoint, what you've got.
I know you
this, finally. I'm excited, she called me. I'm the only one who ever called you, it's your turn.
Maybe I
It's your turn.
We'll take this information back and we're gonna, put it into a report so that you can see it and use it later as well. But for today, just want to kind of try to concentrate then on the higher prioritized. And I think now's kind of the time, not to drill down yet and say, well, we want a 1,200 square foot building versus a 3,000 square foot building or something. But what do y'all feel about with these is your top 4 capital items?
The ag facility, you understand what that is gonna be?
I would,
It's
that
a,
was gonna be my next
it's a
question.
joint project between Amherst County and Nelson County,
Okay,
and maybe some other, could be Appomattox too.
what
But
What-
that
what
almost,
would occur there?
you seen the one in Pennsylvania County, hadn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Right on Side 29,
Okay,
and see, that's not, or is it government, it's not government run, they kinda are on their own,
It's a separate nonprofit.
but it took a lot of governments to get it there, but
Yeah.
that's what the,
if y'all had any thoughts of Virginia Tech as a partner,
I'm sure.
Maybe that's a good idea.
that's, I've seen those where you take your state ag school and they participate in things like that because being the land grant university, part of their mission is to do things outside of their campus. And
We haven't worked with them with this board in the recent past, but we've actually worked with them with this board.
okay, I think that would be a real worth of discussion, okay? Any real arguments, anything where, boy, y'all just didn't get the right dots up here?
Do you want to include the business part? Because money, we're getting proposals for engineering firms to evaluate the market property.
Right.
Wait,
that's where the land was coming from for the swimming pool.
I mean, I'm worried that got only 3 dots on it because of the way it was worded as
Oh.
business park development rather than the closed session meeting we had a couple of last month and that project that we talked about.
Right.
Because that's what that's referring to is,
I think, yeah, maybe.
market.
I would, just from
I
my,
think it
we'll
should be
put
up.
it up here because having participated in these now since 2016, that's been one of the highest ranking items, so, okay. We'll add some dots to that for them.
Yeah, as Mr. Barlow suggested, it's more than just that, it's sort
Yeah.
of multifaceted.
I mean, you could look at several of these items and they were
Almost kind of fall into that
all of those
one.
are kind of tied into the same,
So.
I mean, that's almost like an umbrella over
yeah.
a sports field complex and an ag, I mean, it
I
could
mean,
be
you could-
multifaceted, taking care of several things.
So make that as,
Mixed use development.
the umbrella project.
There you go.
Yeah, I apologize for limiting the wording of that up
That's a
there.
good term.
I think, and I'm just relying back to on previous discussions, that's a key piece of property. Okay? So, I mean, if I'm even thinking correctly, pretty much all except for this one could hinge on that success,
Yes.
okay? Okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
You'll,
Any other, let's just take it a step further. Let's say we're successful with this acquisition. is there anything in details that you might want to just throw in there that would be key to the success of a swimming, facility or sports field complex or?
I don't think, from what we heard the other day, that any of those things are tied to buying that land. I mean, it'd be nice if we can do it, but it just didn't seem like.
I would say in how we word this, kind of putting it together, is that they're all opportunities if this is acquired, but they're not eliminated if that's not acquired.
Bingo. Yes,
Yeah.
bingo.
Okay.
It would all fit together like a nice little puzzle if it was acquired, but if it was not, they could still be
Yeah.
piecemealed without it.
In some of these sports field complexes, you don't want it all in one location. I mean, it may be something
Right.
you spread around the county.
Could be. Let me ask about the sports facilities, just to make sure too. Do you see these as predominantly serving Nelson County residents? Or do you see these as maybe predominantly being an economic development tool to bring people in for sports?
That's possible, but that market is being saturated.
It is.
And I see it as primarily for the people of Nelson County. I don't know, what do you think, Tom?
There's a lot of kids still playing ball. Girls, boys, I mean,
Yeah,
But the one disadvantage we have to utilizing it as a draw is the overnight facilities. We don't have places,
The supporting
we
services.
don't have where the families could stay.
Well, it's kind of the chicken or the egg.
True, that's true, that's true.
And again, as you're developing it, there is nothing to say you build it for the locals, but as long as you do a really good job of it, you can expand it
Yeah.
over time. And I mean, my son has been a big basketball player and we travel all around with it. And I mean, we go to a place in Richmond where it was a manufacturing facility. Now it has like 10 basketball courts in it. So it started as one thing, but the demand grew to something else.
The thing I like about the way that it's played out is that everything we have up there is basically, big ticket items. And there are other things that got dots that are more dependent on which way the wind blows, as opposed to what we plan exclusively for in the long term that's going to commit a lot of resources and a lot of debt. So, so those don't need to disappear.
Right.
They-
Some of those are
they-
almost like pocket change items compared,
Exactly,
you know.
yeah, but but the fact that they've risen to a level of importance is
Absolutely.
significant.
The other, and I can say from experience, I was very lucky to have this happen once, is while you're working on your big ticket items, sometimes you just get lucky. County administrators and directors and all, we say it's all expertise, but that interest rate falls when you're bonding, and all of a sudden, you've got an extra $250,000 sitting there.
hell, it's almost zero now.
You can go knock off one of those with no problem, as long as you already have it listed. So it's so important not just to forget about those. You want to prioritize, but keep those on the burner. Okay? Steve, you think that gives you enough to
That's plenty.
work on? Now we're gonna get to the operating costs for, assistance for stuff.
Awesome.
Anything else? This is great. Thank you all. Thanks.
thank you.
We'll take pictures now and have it back to technology. We'll leave you the paper. We'll just take the pictures with us.
Steve, what's the Sugarloaf thing? $500,000 for a tower.
That's to build the new tower.
It's to build a new tower if Verizon at some point in the near future tells us to get off the tower.
Well, no. The co-op owns
The land beside it.
the land with the old,
Well, we talked to Gary about parking.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised about this figure of it.
Yeah, well, I think this is to show you potential costs.
I thought that was American Tower.
A what?
I thought those American Towers that own Sugarloaf.
They may do, I was.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Chip, we sure are gonna miss you, man.
Hey, I know how to get here. Don't think I'm leaving the world. I'll come back. I'll just miss seeing you on those first Thursdays. We'll do it. Thank you all very much. I know y'all have a lot
Christine,
to
thank
get
you.
done. Thank you.
What was that?
He got hired by Charlottesville. He's a big league now.
Be safe.
Thank you.
And have fun. Okay. All right, Christine, now you gotta deal with me full time.
These are our priorities. Have fun this day.
Yeah, lucky you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the joint meeting with Nelson County School Board.
We're not gonna talk about it.
Is there more discussion we need to have on this, Steve?
He's gonna start
Have questions about how we move forward.
Good question. How do we move forward?
Well, good question. Well, as I noted to the board a couple minutes ago, one thing that we think we're going to receive Monday, or at least one, maybe a couple proposals.
We received one today.
Okay, from engineering firms to assess this potential business park. And the PER, or the RFP we issued is broad enough that we can probably look at all of these things through that RFP.
Right.
Once we get a firm on board. And so we'll probably try to develop, assuming we can somehow acquire the land that the board's been discussing, we would look at a master plan for all of these facilities, potentially when there's huge acreage, and then bring it back to the board.
Are we comfortable with taking it?
I don't know, I mean, it's what the next step for assessment is, the engineers will actually assess the property and determine, what's the areas that can be used, what's the best use of the land, full engineering report. And then we'll discuss all of these things with them and see where we can take it. We know to at least one firm has asked us
So there's
questions.
been an adjustment on the price that they're charging, or?
Well, that's subject to negotiation. We think the initial one for conversation with one firm is in the $47,000 to $50,000 range.
Sorry.
Nobody's gonna pay what they're asking.
Yeah, well, then.
Nobody.
Right. So that's how I would approach it is we look at the use of this new consultant, whoever that will be, to help us, assess this big picture. And then if the board's comfortable, if you saw when Mr. Rowland was doing his presentation, he listed that there's a cooperative procurement ability with another locality, so we could contract directly with Davenport to help us
Sure.
develop a financial analysis of this whole big picture and how you could step into it.
So that speaks to all the large items. The smaller items that got priority, second priority status or whatever, are those things that that could be taken up sooner.
Yeah.
And there's things that could,
Well, I think that's through the budgetary process.
That was my
I was gonna say,
question.
those
That's
things
my
are
question.
small enough to where we could just knock them out in the budget.
right, so we can include those, if we prioritize those going into the budget, we can
Right.
make sure we got.
We'll work with the various departments and try to squeeze down all this proposals they made into something that we think is relevant to bring to the board. And y'all will have to vet, do you want to do some of them, none of them, or all of them, and how we're going to do that.
Right.
But we'll try to figure that out before.
So we're gonna do that as a board
Of course,
and direct you I support, because if we fail to get this land, we need to do other things to find the land to do these things, right?
And I'll just note, the acres Mr. Harvey referred to right over across the road, as a site that could be used for some of that.
Sure.
Yeah, but it just works so much better if it's right at the school and ties into
Exactly.
the.
I mean, as Chip said, most of this has been a long-term vision. It's
Well,
just-
you don't want it
just how
to be
we
a
get
school
there.
project,
No.
but because we want the public to be able to use as much as
Yeah.
possible. but-
I mean, one of the things, dealing with Wells Fargo does not seem to be productive. Is there any way to circumvent?
No,
No.
No, why not?
Because they're the ones in charge.
they own it.
I thought this woman owned it.
A
It's
trust
trust.
owns
trust.
it, and
It's a
Wells
trust.
Fargo manages the
Manages the
trust.
trust.
I wouldn't be concerned about it yet.
Yeah.
The appraisal on that property is supposed to come in the next couple of weeks or so, by the 15th or so.
And another thing, the ag facility, while we want to propose the combined location, that truly, the vision is on a separate location. So that is not really, we would like for it to be part of the umbrella, but it's not yet
Yeah.
part of the umbrella.
And that,
The other thing is the Department of Social Services, they have a crisis right now. That they have, the state is giving them a couple of new positions, or 85% of it, and they have no room for them.
You made it a priority.
Yeah, are we committed? You would not include the health department to building a facility for the Department of Social Services? Are we
Well,
gonna
you could
do
build
that?
that same facility, and if you didn't put Department of Health in it, you could, it's other things that
Yeah.
will work with social services.
Yeah.
Besides just.
and Steve's gonna probably give us a couple scenarios related to that, the ones that we've talked
I
about.
mean, we'll have to very quickly issue an RFP, request for proposals for architectural services, and probably focus on that facility and bring the board back options.
But also,
And
there needs to be, they need, if you have any, you think of possibilities, they need to deal with these new people coming into their offices very quickly.
Yeah, well, the process for what's called a preliminary architectural report would include consulting with both departments as an example for what are your space needs, not just now, but in the next 5 years or 10 years.
Well, they're talking, they space needs within the couple of months or.
No, I understand, but we can't build that building in a couple of months.
Yeah, but
I know we can't do that, but I mean, do we have anything available to them, is what I'm asking.
No, not without
So
acquiring something larger and.
What are they
refurbishing it.
expected to do?
Stay put. They'll just have to make do, which they've been doing.
I know for 20 years, and they keep making do.
You made it a
When you
priority.
make do, you get to a point where you can't make do anymore.
Yeah.
You have
they
to
were
decide.
in a 10-year project in a Quonset hut, and they were there 30 years, so they can't make do.
What about the possibility of a short-term at the Heritage Center?
Well, it's based on what I understand from Department of General Services and Health Department. If they sign a lease with the Heritage Center, for example, it's gonna be 5 years.
I'm talking about social services.
Well, that hasn't been considered.
Well, can we consider it? Because if they need
If there's
something,
room.
if they need something in the short term,
I mean, just a short term, the
well, what
Heritage
I'm
gonna
saying
have to
is, like the bridge from now to a big facility.
They can probably squeeze 2 more people in down there.
All the storerooms are now office rooms. They don't have a room.
Well, they could,
They
some of them are teleworking, so.
Well, you don't have as many employees as we pay bonuses to either.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that immediately, but I can't tell the board that we can fix the problem in the next couple of months.
Well, I'm not,
No,
but what I'm saying is
that they have a very, very short-term problem.
there there is structural stability in some areas of the Heritage Center. There might be something there that could deal with social
That-
services.
It's bad for them to
It's
be
gonna have to
separated.
be made suitable for those departments.
Right.
Because they have as you know, they have confidentiality
Yeah,
issues.
yeah.
You know, they can't just have necessary open offices and anybody can go in there.
Well, is it worth at least asking some questions and seeing if it's feasible? I mean, I'm not saying that that's the solution to the problem. I'm saying that unless we know more about it.
Yeah,
we won't
sure.
know.
Goal this weekend is to burn some of those brush piles over there. I was thinking about Kim the other day,
That's actually a great idea. Yeah.
talking to some of the fire departments, see if they would assist and be paid, but man, you could, especially with snow coming in, that's the ideal time to burn it.
So are we wrapped up? Do we know where we're going from here?
A lot of stuff, yeah. Now, I will say, one of those items, the ag facility, we're working on a time frame to at least begin the conversation.
Yeah.
Do we have a meeting set yet with Amherst?
Pick a day next week. I'm pretty good next week.
I feel that's a separate thing from most of what we're talking about. I might be wrong.
We'll find out pretty quick.
Yeah, what I've been trying
Well,
to
they
do,
just need to get a get-together meeting and go from there,
Yeah.
because that's,
well, I asked Dean Rogers what information they had, could they give it to us? And I'm not criticizing Dean, of course, but I was sort of surprised those gentlemen had reported to the board, said they've been working on this for 2 years, but they don't have any financial information to provide.
well, they don't have any financial support.
Yeah.
No, just, I mean, I've already made inquiries to the old Dominion Agricultural Center in Pennsylvania County. How much did that cost? Tell us. And I've got some preliminary information from the Tobacco Commission, but not enough to tell y'all this is what that cost. But
Well,
that's what we've been working on since you said, look into it.
that's money that we can't get.
no, I know, but
But the cost
but
of,
those grants went into the overall capital cost to construct that facility. I'm just trying to see, because I've seen the facility on their website. It's pretty large. How much did that thing cost? So
Yeah,
at least
but-
y'all know.
It's phases, Steve. Let's break 4 or
This is like
5.
the third or fourth phase.
Yeah, it's
to
in
get
the
to where-
3rd or 4th phase down.
Don't you want to know?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, Jesse and I are gonna be meeting with Claudia and Jimmy
Yep.
in the next week or so.
Yeah, I'll facilitate the meeting. I just thought y'all wanted to know that.
well, I didn't get the feeling that it was a big priority on county administrators' shoulders.
I think it should be
Amherst?
here.
But Steve,
The infrastructure is better here than over there. I mean, it's Don's decision.
Yeah.
but it's,
if we can negotiate it in,
I mean,
we had suggested right off the bat, what if we give you the land to put it on? It's just that coming the distance from Tide River to the high school. You know, and where it's at now, it's almost equal distance from Nelson County High School to this site as it is from Amherst High School to that site. And then if you bring out Maddox in, they'd be coming right up 60.
Right.
And you'd be putting them right there.
yeah, I don't know enough about it. To
Well-
what extent will it be classrooms?
You can't come out swinging that, well, we wanted Nelson County.
Why not?
Yeah. What?
Why not? The infrastructure's here. They don't have it. It's up to y'all, not me.
Well, you can build a daggone infrastructure. That's what they need anyway.
I know, but there's water, sewer, three-phase electricity, and internet right here, and where you could potentially put it, right adjacent to our schools.
Jesse and I'll meet with them and we'll see where we're starting.
We'll probably kill us off conversation real quickly. And the one boy that did all the thing, he lives here on, was it Freshwater Cove?
Chris Bryant.
Yeah.
St. T's brother, lives on Freshwater Cove.
That's what I just told you. I told you he lived on Freshwater Cove.
Tell me nothing.
He's a Nelson County boy.
So We ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is considering the joint meeting with the county school board. Steve, do you want to speak to this, or should I?
Well, first, certainly, when I sent this alternate agenda out, I'm certainly not trying to step on your toes. I just thought, from my perspective, and I was telling Mr. Parr earlier, I mean, I was laying in my bed last night thinking about this. I just think it's better for the boards to engage without a lot of input from the staffs at present. And doing sort of what you did today, let the two boards discuss what their priorities are and what you want to do, and then shape that into next meetings, where you could have a real focused and defined agenda to speak to. Because now you're just sort of going into it with Dr. Eagle's going to provide some information. You want Andy now to say some stuff, but it's just better for the boards just to start from scratch, from my perspective.
I don't think that's a bad idea
Yeah.
at all.
I mean, based on your input, if I could, I changed that agenda so that you and Mr. Cheap would make opening remarks, and I can hand it out if you want me to. But
Right.
that's what I would recommend to the board. Not that I'm right, I just think that's a better approach.
Can you
to
hand it out
discussing.
to, I think everyone may have seen it, but you can hand it out.
Do I-
But while you're doing that, my intention with the agenda that I had pieced together
do the same
was,
thing.
well, what it was to try to get the important points from everybody about what they thought should be included and make sure that it was.
No, I
And
understand.
that was just my intention. However, I think that this will do exactly the same thing because it's given us an opportunity to see what those things are. And we can at least,
I just don't think, if I can say this, that either myself, Candy, or Dr. Eagle should have any real influence on this meeting. It should be y'all talking to each other and deciding where you want to go next. And then you can, as I put down here, next steps, you can decide about when you want to have another meeting, what that meeting should be about, et cetera.
we will need some baseline information as long as y'all are prepared to have it when we ask for it.
Yeah, we can put together the current composite index, we can get the school enrollment, whatever you want, I just need to know.
Yeah.
And
And I,
that can be a reference instead of a presentation.
right, and I also think that I would like to welcome Dr. Eagle and yourself and recognize that you're there and give you a chance just to say, have a good time or whatever's on your mind at that time. It can be as little as possible. I don't think there's, there needs to be any more than that.
Yeah, well, I responded and said that, sorry, I didn't mean to be facetious anyway, that the two boards certainly know who we are, and all I would do is encourage y'all to work together at this point.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But
that's all
Ernie,
I would
the
probably
biggest
say.
problem is, if we're gonna look at any of this stuff right here, they have got to come to reality on their budget. I mean, suppose their operational budget right now is more than what our increase in revenue is gonna be this year. I know we set it up so that anything they had left over in the end of the year would go to capital improvements, but I think we're being played on that. Because, that big amount of $400-some thousand was left over this year, but that was just money they saved by not being in school. And then turn right around, then they're gonna want that, that additional money.
Yeah, because if I may, when I made some comments to you about what I thought the board should consider, I really think this first meeting, like the thing Mr. Harvey said, and whatever else the board wants to communicate, is it should come from the board and not be coming from the staffs.
I understand.
Because it's really about y'all engaging and deciding next steps instead of being overtly influenced by either myself or Dr. Eagle. Yeah, I was really troubled, about sort of the scope of that agenda yesterday, just because it really bothered me that we could lead you into arguing, and that's not what this meeting should be about. If I can say it that way.
Oh, absolutely.
And who is Skip as a professional to tell you about schools? What is his qualifications?
I think I do. I think I have something to say that has nothing to do with the capital improvements and has nothing to do with budgets.
Yeah.
But it has something to do with improving the schools. And it has something to do with improving the schools that necessarily doesn't have anything to do with money. It has to do with attitude. Now, to say, why should, these guys came in here, the guy from where, the project estimate, as the expert to help us do capital things. I think what I have to present will be helpful to all of us in terms of what we need to do to improve our schools and make them the best possible schools they can be. I might say that I intend to entertain you. I intend to entertain you with ideas on what determines a good teacher. Because schools, it comes right down to is what kind of quality teachers can you bring into your schools and keep there. And that relationship between those teachers and the students have everything to do with the quality of your schools and respect. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about respect. And I think I do have something valuable. And I would like, the board to say, hey, yeah, Mr. Barton, who's taught our children, who's taught some of them on the board, made a difference in our lives. And why is that? Well, what does Mr. Barton have to say about education? I certainly don't need, I have no intention of putting anybody down or being any way negative. Everything I want to say is positive.
When we have people on board that have particular expertise that's applicable to what's going on, my experience on the board is those people have always been able to speak freely about what it was they felt about what it ought to be and who ought to do what. And, the board I sat on before, did that in other realms as well. I've got a lifetime of education as an administrator and a teacher, as well. And, and Jesse taught himself everything. He's got a different perspective too. David's been on the school board, and you have built schools for us. I mean, we've all got expertise here that is really important.
Well, but what happens when philosophy gets in there, that's when it.
We've all got it.
Yeah.
And so, and the folks on the school board, they've got their personalities and their experiences as well. And I think maybe this agenda really speaks to that those are the type of things that can.
And I think yours did the same thing. I just sort of got us there faster, or y'all there faster, is each board member, their board and this board each member would be able to say whatever you want. There would be discussion. You can say whatever you want just to get it out on the table and then proceed from there.
I think and I don't know what you were alluding to, but for me, and I've mentioned this to Ernie already, the way the previous agenda was set up, and Skip, it sounds like you're still planning to make a presentation during that meeting. And that mentality of going into this joint meeting and you planning to make a presentation, to me, is kind of outside of the scope of what this meeting is for, because I don't plan on coming in and making a presentation on the insurance cost of the school or how the insurance should work. And I'm not going to go in and make a presentation on my experience as a school board member and how I think they should do it, or Tommy's not going to talk about from his standpoint, or Jesse, that's what I was, I think this should be a community discussion between 10 board members with 4 administrators on the outside available for expert advice, and not advice, but opinion and information as we need it. But that was the concern I had with the way that agenda was set, was of the 10 board meeting members, we have 1 board member giving a formal presentation. And I just thought that was kind of
whatever
I just
any of
want
us
to
decide to
skip
talk.
off is all I want to do.
Whatever any of us want to talk about, I don't care what it is, as long as it's thoughtful and it's brief. You know, those are the two things.
Yeah.
So the challenge is to be brief.
Yes, Gil.
Good
It's a
luck with
challenge.
that.
Can we
It's a
get it?
challenge for all of us, you know?
I got a buzzer at home. We'll put it right
Yeah.
there.
Brief is, all these meetings, we have to be brief. And
You already ran out of your
I have no
time.
intention of going on and on and on and on. But the idea that I don't have something unique to offer this meeting
I don't think that's the case.
is not the case.
I don't think that's the case.
And I want to offer that. That's all, that's why I'm here. That's why I went through that whole election process to get elected. Because, and what I've done with my life is serve the people of Nelson County and serve the children of Nelson County. And, I want the opportunity to address the school board. I mean, I don't, we've been talking about it all the time. I mean, it's constant conversation with you. But schools don't have to do with money. Maybe administrators have to do with money, but schools have to do with people, and they have to do with something that maybe you don't want to deal with, which is love. The primary thing that the teacher does to a child is to love the child. And when that child loves that teacher back, that student is inspired to learn, and that's when learning takes place. And is when the student takes the initiative. And I want to talk about that.
Mr. Barton, I'm looking forward to it. I would hate to deprive the school board from having an opportunity to hear that. And I think we can hold it till then.
Okay, I want to hold it to that.
Good. So is there anything else they wanted to do to talk about that meeting or?
So 4 to 7, right here, or no, Nelson Middle School
Middle school.
auditorium. And we're just gonna be like, we're gonna sit over here, they're gonna sit way over there.
Dr. Eagle,
Up on the stage.
Dr. Eagle's gonna situate that, my understanding is.
I think we'll name rights.
I'll get there,
It
I'll
might,
get there early enough to make sure that
we
it
might
looks like it will.
need to get microphones, so that everybody can hear
I'm
each
sure
other.
they've had school board meetings.
I mean, I'm sure with this being on school property, they're gonna take care of the infrastructure.
Yeah, I talked to Dr. Eagle, she said. they
Got
can do it.
Alright, let's imagine. too many people.
And our IT has talked to their IT as well, so. Any other business?
Did we ever get an answer on how many were gonna be there?
They responded this morning to Amanda, said all the members would be there.
All board members will be there, 'cause that's
Great,
my
Great,
big thing.
that's, I know.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Well, Matt, are you comfortable with this agenda? Because this is the one that we just put it out.
I am comfortable with that agenda. I am.
I'm fine with that agenda as well.
Well, that's your baby. Roger.
Mr. Chairman?
And truly, does the agenda need to be in paragraph form like that, or can it just be some bullets? I mean, I appreciate the way you explained it to us, but is that how we're gonna present it to the meeting?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty it up, sir.
personally, I think it's a little wordy and, I mean, the agenda should just be bullet points. This agenda includes what we're not gonna talk about, and I don't think what we're not gonna talk about has a place on an agenda.
That's where Mr. Reed, Mr. Chief.
Yeah, so y'all work that out.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe the second two paragraphs under roundtable discussion don't need to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the first.
Y'all work that out.
The first
I thought
one,
about that.
yeah, the first one would be fine.
Okay.
Okay?
If I'm gonna have an opportunity to say more than a few words.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, everybody will.
You gonna
That's the
pay-
beauty of it.
You gonna pay for your time, so the longer you talk, the more it's gonna cost you.
You know how much I can talk?
Is there any other business to undertake today?
We have to continue.
Okay,
You can look for that motion. Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue this meeting to this coming Tuesday, which was February the 2nd, 4 o'clock at the Nelson County Middle School Auditorium.
Second.
okay. Any more discussion?
Mr. Barton,
Yes.
Mr. Hardy,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Really, I had no intention of bringing up school consolidation or anything.
No,
I just want to talk about schools.
I haven't
Anybody else
seen it.
bringing it up?
I didn't